The Milwaukee Bucks lose. The best team in the NBA is gone. The best record again in the NBA. The best defense, best offense.
And just were never right in the restart.
Kind of feel lost. Nobody's going to be happy.
I'm proud of the guys. They left everything they had. They played together, and we couldn't get it done tonight.
Hopefully we can build a culture in Milwaukee for many years that we can come out here and compete every single year for the championship.
Jimmy Buckets and the Heat knocked off the Bucks last night, and he only needed to make 4 of 6 shots to do it. Butler at 17, but Miami's bench came up big, outscoring Milwaukee's bench 38-19. Heat win the series 4-1 and await the winner of Boston-Toronto. Let me give you some context to this question, Stephen A., because obviously I know you picked the Heat, but going into the series, the Heat were the underdogs. A lot of people thought the Bucks were going to go all the way. And now that we saw a different Bucks team, they didn't really show up, and obviously Giannis was hurt the last 2 games. Did you even think it was impressive that the Heat took them down?
No, I thought it was very unimpressive the way they closed out. I had no problem with the way they played throughout this series prior to it, but the last game and a half, I was not satisfied. Once Giannis went down, I thought that they should have definitely escaped with the sweep. And then last night to commit 21 turnovers, they were incredibly sloppy with the basketball. There were too many spurts when they were ineffective and discombobulated offensively. I mean, to star your team, Jimmy Butler only takes 6 shots for the game. You're going to need to do more than that to beat Toronto or, in my opinion, Boston. You're going to need to do more than that in order to beat them. Obviously, they have shot makers. They have elite perimeter players. You know, with Giannis being the focal point for Milwaukee and them essentially having spot-up shooters, that's not what Boston has. They got guys that can break you down off the dribble. They got guys that can make things happen in that regard in Tatum and Jaylen Brown and obviously Kemba Walker. They're not deep. But in the event, inevitably, they can hurt you from the perimeter, and they can hurt you playing one-on-one basketball, as well as distributing the basketball and being fluid in that regard offensively. I just think that you have to be more efficient offensively if you expect to come out of the East, if you're the Miami Heat. And I felt like Miami got a little bit sloppy and a little bit too loose with the basketball. And as the competition elevates, I think that they will pay a price for it if they don't get their act together. So I'm impressed with what they did overall in the series. But the last game and a half or so, I was not impressed with what I saw from the Miami Heat. I thought we should have seen better. I thought we could have seen better. And remember, Game 2, when I believe it was Mark Davis, if I remember correctly, you call a foul that sends Jimmy Butler to the line with no time left on such a questionable foul call against the Greek freak, for crying out loud. To hand a playoff game to the Miami Heat like that instead of letting the game go into overtime, one could easily argue that Milwaukee could have won a couple of games in that regard in this series. So I'm not overly impressed with Miami with what I've seen thus far. I've been impressed overall for the series, but to say incredibly impressed, no, especially last night. I thought they were very sloppy.
Well, the last 2 games of the series, that's just human nature. The best player on the other team goes down, there's usually going to be let down on the team playing them, or oftentimes at least. And that's understandable. And Miami even self-diagnosed that, right? Like, they understood that's what happened in the previous game. They tried to correct it. They couldn't exactly. The bottom line is, Stephen A., before this series started, I liked Milwaukee, you liked Miami, but you as an addendum to your liking Miami, you said, look, my analysis says Milwaukee. I just think the heart that Miami has, et cetera, et cetera. So going in, you expected a tough series. This series was over before Giannis got hurt. The series was already decided before Giannis got hurt. Like, this Heat team has lost, what, 1 playoff game now? 1? And I know the Pacers didn't have Sabonis and Oladipo's not exactly the same, but the Pacers are a very good team. Couldn't get a game from Miami. And the Milwaukee Bucks, although they've been bad in the bubble, like we keep just talking about the playoffs, and because it correlates with last year also, it corresponds with last year bad in the playoffs, they were bad in the bubble, period. They went from the best record in the league to a very mediocre team in the bubble. Nevertheless, the Heat beat the Pacers every game and dropped 1 to the Bucks. How is that not impressive? Even if there's a letdown when Giannis goes down, okay, fine, we got this. As I said, human nature. And also, the Heat appear to me to be the kind of team that will raise their game based on the competition. That's what a team with heart does. When you look at what they did yesterday, even if Butler doesn't have it, guys off the bench do. Not just the young shooters with Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, but Dragic and Adebayo. And everywhere you look, there's a guy you'd want on your team. The Bucks are the Heat, the entire team is like that, and they're led by Jimmy Butler, who's a genuine star. And they except for one letdown game, they're undefeated in the postseason. Very, very impressive so far by the Heat.
Well, listen, like I said, overall, it's very impressed that they won the series. But if you look at the way they played earlier on the first 3 games, pretty much, to the way they played the last 2 games, you can attribute it to being a letdown because the Greek Freak is not there. I'm looking at that and I'm asking the question, if you played that same exact way against Boston, where is that going to get you? It's going to get them home in South Beach before the NBA Finals arrives. That's where it's going to get them. You've got to be more efficient. You've got to protect the basketball better. You've got to make shots. And you can't have these gaps, these spurts, where you do absolutely nothing offensively but turn the basketball over and give Milwaukee open shot after open shot. We all know that Milwaukee bet wrong by betting on Eric Bledsoe instead of Malcolm Brogdon. We all get that. And as a result, they paid the price for it. Boston hasn't made that mistake. They've got Kemba, they've got Jaylen Brown, they've got Jason Tatum. Who knows whether or not Gordon Hayward will end up back in the lineup. And they've got Marcus Smart, who's a first-team all-defensive player. By the way, hitting jump shots.
Killer when you need him to be.
Get him. And so that's right. So the bottom line is that you're not going to get away with giving Boston so many bites at the apple. They have to be more efficient than what we saw them be last night against the Milwaukee Bucks. It is that simple.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.